This is the Yukon Entrepreneur Podcast, and I'm your host, Carrie Johnston, recording today from the traditional territory of Champlain and Nyäk First Nations in beautiful Hinge Junction. And this is a mini-series all about Yukon Innovation Week, and I'm joined today by Jani. Jani, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Djokic. I'm the CEO of the Na-Cho Development Corporation, and today I'm calling in from lovely Mexico, finally taking a vacation for the first time since 2019. When I'm not on vacation, I do reside, work, and thrive in the traditional territories of the Kwanlin, Dun, and Tan Kwachan Council, and I earn my living through collaboration with the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk.
Well, thank you so much for being there or being here. And what is your role with the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk?
So I run the development corporation, so the Na-Cho Nyäk Development Corporation, and that's the active business arm of the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk, and is one part of a extremely complex economic development framework that the nation has. And then with NNDDC, we have 16 subsidiaries and holdings as well. So not only do I operate NNDDC, but I operate a lot of those companies, and I'm accountable to them, and everything in the realm from food innovation to restoration ecology to green economy to aviation, et cetera, et cetera.
And so where is the market? Who are you serving? Is it Yukon? Is it national? Is it international?
Well, our mandate is to invest both within and outside of the traditional territory. So we don't have any restrictions necessarily on where our businesses operate. However, we do have parameters around not doing harm to any other Indigenous nations and Indigenous communities and peoples with the work that we do in other jurisdictions, and to do it in reciprocity and partnership as well with those nations whose traditional territories we operate on. And for the most part, we're accountable to the citizenship of the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk. So we report up to the NND Business Trust, who's accountable to the General Assembly. So.
Okay, so it's Innovation Week here in the territory. So what does innovation mean to you?
Oh gosh, you guys might hate me with me saying this, but I think innovation's a buzzword. That means, to me, it goes hand in hand with ingenuity. And I think in the Yukon, all our communities have so much ingenuity. And so I think innovation is just intrinsically intertwined with the fabric of the Yukon. And I know that we like to focus a lot on the new shiny objects and tech, and there's space for all of that, but I like to think about innovation from the very grassroots level, and innovation that's existed since time immemorial.
And what inspires you about the work that you do?
The people, sense of community, the smiles, just generally getting to have human relationships in the work that I do. I know that I sit in my office and work on a computer for a lot of those things, but it's in service of others, and it's working with others. And I think being led by the community is probably my most favorite part of my job.
And what bothers you about the current system you operate within?
A few things. But I do generally have issues with the perpetual growth mindset of capitalism and a lot of Western businesses and Western economies. And I believe in companies being great, not necessarily giant. And I wish more companies in our economy would take time to think about what is their purpose, who are they serving, what are they serving, and working towards that goal as opposed to their goal being perpetual profits.
And what do you think it would take to change some of those things that bother you about our current way of being?
I think, I mean, for one, the financing system, most definitely. Thinking about some of the financing facilities that we have at the DevCorps, when you look at the metrics that we get stacked up against, they're all on a growth trajectory, as opposed to, well, what are the key performance indicators and what are the financial metrics that mean you as a company are doing really well, you're serving your purpose, you may not be growing, but you're maintaining what you're doing and you're doing it well and you're providing really good quality services and products. You have good governance, things like that. So I do wish that, we'd move away from that. And so often we need to access financing in order to take on new opportunities. So I do think that the Canadian banks and private financiers and stuff definitely have a role to play in that. I think a lot more, this is going to be for for-profit companies. I think a lot could take on more social impact models or social enterprise models. So I think that goes back to identifying, what is your purpose? Who are you serving? What mark do you want to leave on society and within the community that you're in, and really working towards that vision. And I think in doing so, we also need to have diversity in all its forms within our organizations. So whether that be gender diversity, socioeconomic diversity, class diversity, like it doesn't matter, just diversity in all its forms. And I think that we'll just move towards better run companies and companies that serve better.
Canada's in the midst of a pretty dramatic transformation with the release of the 2015 Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action in the work of the Commission. And, the report asks us to embody the 4 A's of reconciliation: awareness, acknowledgement, atonement, and action. What does it mean to you to be a business that demonstrates reconciliation in action?
So this is an interesting one, given that we're a First Nations development corporation. And I think often it's easy to look at development corporations and say, perhaps that they don't necessarily have a role to play. And something that we did at NNDDC was really take the time to talk about the awareness aspect of this. So where do development corporations come from? Why do they exist? What was the colonial legislation and framework that led to nations all across Canada creating development corporations, and that it's rooted in nations being told that they could not participate in the economy and could not participate in the economy in ways in which they wanted to, or through structures in which were more aligned with cultural values and practices. And so development corporations popped up. And so it was really taking the time to recognize that, in many ways, development corporations can be culturally unsafe organizations. That doesn't mean get rid of them. It just means that once you know that truth, and once you know those nuances and dynamics, you can then start to put the pieces to move forward and to start walking your own path of reconciliation as an entity. We're now at an interesting place as a development corporation where we're able to have the conversations around non-negotiables. So not feeling that we have to work with every single company that's out there and every single potential collaborator that's out there, and really saying, these are our non-negotiables. You as a company have to culturally be meeting these standards. And as one of my colleagues says, she always goes, you have to be this cool to ride this ride. So really just being firm in those convictions. And what we found is that most entities want to take the opportunity to learn. And we're trying to find ways in which to educate where it's not necessarily an organizational burden constantly, because that's not what NNDDC is set up to be doing. But finding the ways in which through everything we do, there can be elements of education on that history and how we as an organization want to move forward with those that we work with. And then beyond that, because that's more on the like larger company side of things, at the community level, NNDDC has really taken the stance of, reducing barriers for barrier-free access, to be able to have folks tap into services to start their own businesses, tap into infrastructure to start their own businesses. And it's been challenging because, a lot of those things depend on government funding. And I will say that the government funders have been reluctant to support programs such as that. However, I think that there's a huge opportunity there, and for these services to become just constant arms that are there for development corporations, and to work with people where they're at and when they need those services. So my phone's always on, and me personally, it's just, if you come up to a hurdle in your business and it's the middle of the night, just pick up the phone and call me, and I'm there to help. And it doesn't have to be a standard, this is a business boot camp type program, and it's more fluid, it's more community based and relationship based. And I think we have a lot of space to change up how we provide entrepreneurial supports.
Living in the far north, we have this advantage of seeing the world and Canada through a unique lens. What lessons do you think Yukon has to share with others about entrepreneurship?
That collaboration is key. Community is everything. I think the immense amount of collaboration we have in the territory really does come from, it takes a community to survive here. And that extends into our businesses as well. And really respecting those relationships, respecting what role you and others play, I think is huge. And I hope other parts of the world can move towards that much collaboration. And then something that's near and dear to my heart is also mental health. And I really find that the mental health state of entrepreneurs in the territory is much higher than what I've seen in other jurisdictions and in other parts of the world. And I think in the Yukon, maybe because the elements are so harsh and the seasons are harsh, that we really try to find a lifestyle balance. We set boundaries that, we make space for being caregivers, we make space for our hobbies, we make space for our loved ones, and we make space for work. But if you just work, you can't take care of those other parts of your life. And I posted on my LinkedIn, just as I was leaving on vacation, something that a community member had said to me, because I was really, really scared of leaving on vacation. And she had said that if you aren't healthy, your community isn't healthy. And recognizing that we are intrinsic parts of the fabric of our communities. And I really think Yukon entrepreneurs have found a balance for the most part of how do we keep being productive, healthy members of society while also pursuing our own entrepreneurial pursuits.
Everything in balance, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And what's next for you as an entrepreneur, as a business leader?
There's so much. We are working towards NNDDC becoming a B Corp certified business, and I don't know if we'll be the first, at least hopefully one of the first development corporations in Canada to be B Corp certified. So really just trying to show that we have good governance, that we earn money from good things in good ways for good purposes, and showing how we reinvest that back into community and back into society as a whole. So I'm excited for that one. On a personal level in my leadership journey, I'm actually going to be taking some trauma of money courses, and really just trying to reconcile how we may be dealing with money, and that the current system that we have isn't necessarily conducive to making space for a lot of us that have been either on the fringes of our economic landscape or have been fully excluded from our economic landscape, and trying to find ways to better serve. And then on a community level, one that I'm really, really, really excited about is the Makerspace and Food Hub that we're starting in Mayo. So that's in collaboration with Yukon University, a whole bunch of community makers, and trying to just build a communal space and communal infrastructure so folks can start their businesses, be in relationship with each other, and just have a happy, healthy social framework around also running your businesses, because it can be isolating.
Well, all of those things sound incredible. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us here today, and enjoy your time off.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.